Welcome back to Bolt by Bolt. Today we're working on my daughter's 2006 Ford Fusion. She needs motor mounts and transmission mounts on this free Ford Fusion that we got. Today we're going to replace all three of these. I'm going to show you how to see that they're bad. You might experience some clunking or you're noticing some drivability issues, and motor mounts are one of the most overlooked things that a car can need repaired. Alright, one of the ways that we can easily check our motor mount, at least up top here for this style on the Ford, is we're going to use a pry bar right inside the mount here, and we're going to go in and you can actually see how much that mount's moving and how much the engine's going up and down. That's not the way that's supposed to work. But let me start the motor and you can take a look and see how it behaves with a bad motor mount. Alright, so as you can see, we do have quite a bit of movement on our motor. It's okay to have a little back and forth, but we had way more than we should. Now, when our motor mounts are bad, you'll notice sometimes that you'll give your car acceleration and it feels just kind of sluggish, not like it used to be. And some of the reason being is that when you hit the gas, that motor's twisting and some of the energy from the engine is getting absorbed by the mounts and not going to the wheels like it's supposed to. So we're going to stiffen up those mounts and get the power where it belongs. Let's get started. To start, I'm going to have my helper Aaron here. He's going to do the nut on top of this threaded stud, and then he's also going to take out this bolt right here. So that way we can get our coolant tank loose and out of the way.
Now she's moving.
Got to keep it on there. You have to put pressure on the whole time. That gets our expansion tank loose. We're going to take off this grounding strap. Oh, hey, our grounding strap's actually broken, so we need to replace that. But let's see if we can. Nope, that's going to just strip right out, probably. It's on there. Whether or not it actually does anything, we'll see. And sometimes the shocking of the hammer can actually break the rust free, but it's moving. Okay. And it snapped off. No shock there. So a lot of the times you'll get that with corroded bolts or nuts, and those things will break off. We'll just have to make a new grounding strap. Not the end of the world. We'll drill that out if we have to. We're going to get this hose clamp off. This is a spring type clamp, so we're actually going to squeeze. Use our pliers to kind of break our hose loose side to side. There we go. So that's off and out of the way. We're going to lift up on our expansion tank, and I'll show you here in a second. There's a little tab right here, and that goes into the inner fender there. So we're just going to, you have to kind of pull that out a little this way, so that way it moves out of the way. We're going to grab a bungee cord, and we're going to just get our hose and our expansion tank off to the side. That way it gives access to our bolts that are over here, and we should be able to get our motor mount out. So we used a little bit of PB blaster on both of our bolts down there. Well, one bolt, one nut. And we're going to see if we can actually let those sit for a moment. That way it can maybe break up some of that Michigan rust, and we'll have an easier time getting those out. We're going to use a 15mm deep well here to see if we can get this nut free, which actually that came off pretty easy. So we have our 15mm nut off. Now that's actually, you can see it has a nylon thread in there, so that's actually a locking nut. Probably supposed to replace that. We're not going to. Now what I'm going to do is go down here and I put a swivel socket on, so hopefully we can kind of get a good bite on this. And holy cow, that one's on there. Let me grab a different ratchet. Let's try it again. There we go. That got it going. Just needed a little more leverage. Now if a bolt starts to get really hard, sometimes the best thing you can do is actually switch direction and spray some breakaway in there and get some of that rust penetrating oil down in by the threads. See, it starts smoking, sizzling, the PB blaster on top of that. This induction heater has worked magic many times for me.
So let it work its magic this time.
We're going to see if it can.
Hopefully it can. Yeah, that's cherry.
it by hand.
Oh, it's coming.
Yep.
Yay!
The only thing is, that's going to be stupid hot.
Yeah, so we have to kind of...
I'm going to grab a magnet to take that out. But you can see how bad the threads were as far as covered up in all that corrosion and gunk. So we'll clean that up really well before we put that back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to undo our 3 nuts at the top of our motor mount bracket here, but before we do that we need to actually support our engine. So let's get a jack underneath the oil pan. Alright, so all we want to do is get a piece of wood under our oil pan and our jack, and we're just going to lift up a little bit and support our motor. We're not lifting the car up off the ground with this, we're just supporting our engine so that way when we take that motor mount off it doesn't drop down to the ground. Now with the weight off of our engine a little bit, we can actually see even more how bad this motor mount really is. Yeah. And what we're going to do now is we're going to swap that out. We're going to break free this dampener here. Now sometimes engineers will put in things like dampeners for vibration or noise during testing, and this is just a little rubber dampener. We'll take this off and we'll put it right back on. 15 millimeters on these upper 3 nuts. Those come off nice and easy from what I can tell. And now as we take off that 3rd one, we might notice a little shift in our engine. Well, I didn't realize, but down in the back here we have 1 more bolt way down in there.
Yeah, that's...
That was not fun.
There we go.
21.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
All right.
Hooray!
All right. There we
Yay!
go. There we go. We'll clean that off. Okay. Set that to the side. Now we can finally pull our motor mount out. You can see just how bad that was.
Yeah, that's moving. Cleaning that out.
Yeah, as much as I can from here.
Yeah.
We can put our new motor mount in, and that's just going to be the reverse of what we did. So we'll set that right there and line it up.
You see this, like, it does not move, unlike the other one, which moved a stupid amount.
For our bolts that go down on the bottom of the mount, these are the ones that gave us a really hard time, and you can see all the corrosion that we have in there.
Yep.
So we're actually going to clean those up with a wire brush, get as much out of that as we can out of the threads. And then we'll put an aluminum anti-seize on there. So hopefully, not that I anticipate ever doing this again, because the car will probably be in the junkyard by the time it needs to happen again. But just in the event we have to do anything else and we have to take all that out, we want to make sure that we don't fight like we did.
Yeah.
Anti-seize on here. Now this stuff, once it touches something, everything turns silver.
Yeah.
So we're going to torque our lower mount to body bolts to 41 foot-pounds. All that takes there.
Oh, it fell at the bottom at least.
Hey, delivery, sweet. Same thing here. 41 foot-pounds. All right, so 41 foot-pounds there. Now we can take our coolant expansion tank and put that back. Reroute it around out here. Clear wall. There we go. Bolt, our 10 millimeter, we'll put that down. We've got our 10 millimeter bolt right there. We have another mount to do over there, so I'm not going to torque this down yet, because what we want to do is we want to get the engine to settle in its neutral position. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up leaving these loose, and then when we start the car and we put it in neutral without anything holding the engine up, it'll kind of settle into its spot, and then we'll torque it down. We're putting them on, but we're not torquing them all the way down to where they belong. The reason being is otherwise you can get unnatural vibrations because you're holding the engine in a position and it'll wear out your mounts faster. We have our upper mount bolt here, and this one goes to 86 foot-pounds. All right, that's not going to go anywhere. All right, now we still need to replace our grounding wire here that broke off, but we can do that later on. Right now, our mount's done, it's replaced. If you come over here, you can actually see the height difference. Before we were just squeezing a tie down or a pry bar in here, and now look how far it's sitting up. So that took us about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And was all with hand tools, and we had a bolt that gave us a really hard time. All right, we've got our motor mount on our passenger side taken care of. Now we have this transmission mount that's sitting over here, and it's kind of just in this area, right under the battery, the fuse box, the airbox. So we're gonna get some things disassembled, and let's get all this out of the way so we can see what we're working with. For starters, we're gonna take off our upper battery bracket. That's not gonna be a 10, that's gonna be probably an 8. Let's see. Allows us to get this unhooked and out of the way. 8 millimeters to undo our battery connections, both positive and negative. Get our battery out of the way. Now we need to get our battery tray out of the way, which we probably also need to get our airbox out of the way. So let's do our airbox. We have our connector to our mass airflow sensor. You pull this little red tab out like that so that it's released. Then we should be able to pull that connector out of the way. Still need to undo that 8 millimeter right there. And by 8 millimeter, I mean it's probably 7 millimeter.
Yep.
There we go. Let's get our airbox out of the way.
Now we have a lot of room.
And we're trying to create more room for ourselves. So, well, that broke that. Not what I wanted to do, but that's okay. Those undone. We have our bolt. We have a nut. That only, so that opens it up so we can actually get to it. Now I know we need our airbox out of the way, so what we're going to do is there's a little clip right here, and we're going to just kind of pry that clip off, which gets this big rubber chunk out of the way. Pull it out. And there we go. Set that to the side. Pull our airbox out. 2 grommets on the bottom, and it hooks on down in the back side down here and through the fender itself. We'll set this to the side. Let's take a look at our air filter, which is super clean. I think we just put that in actually. Come over here, you get a better look at what our mount is. So this is the mount that we're replacing. We have a bolt down here. We have 2 bolts up top, and then we have 1 more on the back side. So I'm not quite sure how easy they are to get to, but we're gonna try and lift up a little bit on the engine, just like we did before.
Yep.
So we can inspect our bushing, and we actually have a really big gap up top. When we compare that to the new one, you can see, I mean, it's a different design, it's humped, but we can't obviously get our finger in there. Yeah. But all of this right here is probably compressed down on the old one, and that's what we're hoping to kind of alleviate. So the question becomes, what size is that, and what size are those, and do we need to get all of this stuff out of the way? Undo that harness, press down on this tab and lift up on that, which should release that harness. We'll get those out of the way, which gives us a little bit better access. Strap, and oh, hey, fuses from when somebody stole all the fuses out of the car. Apparently there were a few that they left. Yeah, they must have dropped them. That was the one thing that they did when this was sitting at the parking lot, is they stole all the fuses out of the car. 18. As much fun as it was doing the other ones by hand, let's see. Now the engine will probably drop a little, so we might have to readjust and support it. Yep. Alright, so it's dropping down a little bit. Let's see if I can't move over a little bit more. Now we're supporting our transmission. We have 1, we have 2 18 millimeter bolts. I guess we'll take that dampener off and see what all involves getting that bracket off. Sometimes you have to break them free by hand first. There we go.
Now it's moving.
There's that. the most part. So I'm kind of hoping we can just get this up, which allows us to then get a ratchet on there. There we go. So there's a bracket back there for the shifter cable. Roller bracket, so then we can get access to the 13mm bolts on the bottom. There's one, two. We were able to get those 3 bolts out. Now let's see if we can lift this up enough to get past that bracket. Okay, almost get it. There we go.
Yay!
Alright, well that did. Okay, I can get access to the bolts better. Alright.
Yay!
Alright. That bracket sucked. So now we have better access to our bolt. The last 2 bolts. There we go. So cracked and collapsed that was. So installation is the reverse. Obviously you saw me fight with this, but we had to move over also with a 3/16, this stud here that goes for the battery box. Had to put a 3/16 on the top of this. Unless you have a Torx bit, E-Torx that fits on there, I did not. So we were able to get that out. Thankfully it wasn't seized in there. And now we're going to put everything back together, and hopefully it goes together easier than it came apart. We're going to torque down the bracket bolts that hold the bracket to the actual transmission down to 55 foot-pounds. These are going to also be 55 foot-pounds. We torqued the ones on the bracket, both down here and here, that are 13mm down to 41 foot-pounds. There's no torque specs that I'm using on the back bracket here for the shifter cable. We're just putting those down and snugging those back to where they were. And we should be able to kind of reconnect everything and put it all back together. Well, our last motor mount, which is on the bottom side of the engine, looks relatively simple. It looks like it's just 1 bolt and another bolt. The problem we have is we have this ratty heat shield in the way, and the 8mm bolts on the back side of it don't want to seem to come undone. So we're going to have to try and kind of finagle this out of here, or I'll rip this heat shield off or try and heat the bolts up. But this looks like it's a 15mm on the front side one. So we're going to see if we can get that undone. Okay, that one's going pretty easily. Go to my camera guy, since he has a steadier hand than I do. So we have a 15mm that we're going to take out from the front side of this wishbone mount here. See, now there's another bolt back here. And that one is also a 15. Hang on. Am I righty tightening, lefty loosening this?
Yeah, righty tighty, lefty loosey.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I'm trying to think of which way am I going. That's loosening. Except, yeah, there we go.
You can see like right there.
Yeah, because it comes all the way through. Because that bolt's still through enough that I can't get it out. One of the things that has to happen is this exhaust shield has to do something, whether I rip it out or whatever. I might have to grab another wrench. Nope. Now the question becomes, will this give us enough room to do what we need to do? Or are we just making things harder for ourselves? Here I opened my big mouth and I was like, you know what, the one down under the car is going to be the easiest one to do.
Yeah, no.
So we have 2 bolts out there, out of the side of the bracket. Everything here requires just removing the bracket. I've discovered everything about this. Everything is must remove bracket. And that's okay. I just wish I knew that going into it. All right, and
that's stuck.
You know what? Shut up. It's not stuck. It's just not coming out. There we go. Yay. All right, Governor. And that looks absolutely trashed.
That looks horrendous.
Yeah. Well, good thing we're replacing that one. Look at the bushing in the front.
Oh, dang.
Let's get side by side of that.
Holy cow.
Make sure they're in focus.
I know.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's definitely, that's bad.
Yeah,
that's good. All right, let's get the good one in. There we go.
There we go.
Bracket here. So this heat shield, obviously, all it's going to do is rattle, and I really don't think that it matters anymore at this point. So we're just going to rip it right off. It's kind of like foil, just back and forth until it finally decides to give up the ghost. But this is one of the strongest parts of the car that apparently exist. There we go. I think I got it.
Yay.
There we go. All right.
So that's the sucker that was up there.
Yep. No more. Oh, in the end, here's what we're left with. We have one mount that's absolutely shot. We have another one that we already discovered was bad from the beginning when we tested it out. And this one is probably, out of all of them, the only one that's questionable. It's kind of hard to inspect it because it's kind of encased, but you can see cracking and everything along the sides of the rubber, so they all needed to be replaced, especially also with how much this one moves. But let's start the engine up, put it through its paces. We need to tighten down those 3 bolts on the passenger side, and then we'll be all set to go. Well, let's start it up. Now that we've run the engine through its gears and I put it in neutral, I'm going to tighten down these upper 3 bolts that we left undone since the engine settled into its resting position. And that's 46 foot-pounds. Well, with everything tightened down, let's see how much she moves. Well, that certainly didn't look like a whole lot of movement to me, which looked really, really nice. And you can definitely feel that it's much more isolated in the cabin. The engine feels really, really good. Well, that wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Definitely some snags in the road. A couple of those bolts that gave me a hard time, needed some heat, things like that. Is this just kind of a weekend job for anybody? No. I can see why shops would probably charge you probably $1,000 to do all this work. But in the end, I'm glad that we did it. The car should be good to go for the rest of its life on motor mounts. I can't see any reason why they're going to get replaced again. But hopefully this video helps you out if it's something you're going to tackle. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate my cameraman's help here. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.